Great. Welcome everyone to our first meeting of the Dreamwork Circle, which is going to be featuring students from both Sybil's Cave as well as Gaia. So this is kind of the space where our work with our plant allies and our crystal allies meet with our creative capacity and kind of how we bring the medicine from these realms. Kind of, you could think of it as a kind of above to below functioning, right? Um, the messages that we're getting from, the hard places that grow on the earth, the dense teachers that we have that are, well crystallized with starlight, the messages that they give us show up in the dream time through this motion that is kind of backwards from how we, it's the giving and the receiving, right? From how we creatively produce the messages that we receive from the dream time and then create ourselves, right? So we can kind of see this as a spiral, as a loop. And I apologize if I'm not as cogent as I would like to be. I am still recovering from 12-hour jet lag, so this is going to be a little bit interesting, especially since it's a little bit late. But I hope that you see. Can you give me some nodding of heads? Does that make sense? How this is linking? How the Dreamwork Circle is kind of this meeting point where you're getting these messages and then you're deciding what medicine that you're going to make from them in your creative works. In Sybil's Cave, obviously, we're doing this specifically, mostly right now with poetry. This can translate, of course, into painting, into song. We're going to be getting into the realm of song in School of Heaven and Earth in general, into dance, right? Like however you want to use your body, your creative will to ground, transmute, alchemize those messages that you're receiving, right? Like what new thing are you bringing into the world as this vessel, as this creative force yourself, right? So the Dreamtime space, there are a lot of artists, there are a lot of poets, there are a lot of medicine people that just say, that's where it all comes from. Like the dream time is where medicine comes from, is in, poetry, art absolutely is medicine, right? There's a tradition, that a healing tradition that I'd like to share with you that is particularly powerful. It's still living. It's very sacred. Sometimes I hesitate to even talk about it because it is so powerful and sacred, but I really think that people need to know that this work is still being done and that it still exists, because it gives me so much hope, right? It that there are still people who are willing to devote themselves so much to this path, right? Like I'm going to tell you about this practice. But it's a practice that I would like for you to not speak about much beyond this circle, right? Like I'm comfortable telling you about it, but I want to make sure, we do enough ritual in this space that, I feel comfortable sharing this here. So there's a ceremony, and maybe I'm going to keep out some details. There's a ceremony that I'm familiar with, that I've been involved with, in a lineage that I've been initiated into. There's only so many people that can do this. In fact, there's only, pretty sure there might only be 4. Okay. There could be more out there, but I've been told that there's only around 4. There may be more though, but just know this is a very rare kind of person who makes it to this level. It's a ceremony and a kind of person who, in this very particular space, in this very particular container that happens in the darkness, that happens all through the night, that involves a lot of prayer, they are tied up, right, in the ceremony, and their whole physical body, they're untied by spirits, and with each knot that is untied, their body actually disappears from this realm and ends up in the dream realm. And once they pass over into the dream realm, once they fully disappear, they are guided towards a particular plant. This is a healing ceremony, right? I left that part out. They come back with this plant. They're actually holding this plant that they actually picked from the dream world that has an extremely powerful healing medicine for a particular individual. Like I left this out. Like it's this person is journeying on behalf of a sick individual. A lot of the time happens with cancer patients, right? So it would have been for different things back in the day. There wasn't cancer so often, before modern times. Like, it could have been any number of things, right? But that's possible, right? Like people see this regularly, right? This like plant that is actually manifested through this journey, right? So I say this because I would like for you to place more importance on your dreams. Like this is kind of like beseeching you to like really see this place that you journey as a real place, right? Like we've kind of been trained to think that dreams are just these dances in our heads, right? Or this, like a television show or a movie, right? Like we see ourselves as very separate from us. Like we don't think it's like all that important, right? And like even I have to continually like remind myself, even though like I'm teaching this class, I take my dreams very seriously. Like I lucid dream, I've had prophetic dreams, I've done a lot of beautiful spiritual work in my dreams. I've also had some terrifying things happen in my dreams, right? But I have to continually remind myself how sacred they are and how important they are, because our culture places so little value on them, right? Like we have been trained to think that it's just, our heads working out bullshit. And, you set an alarm, you, grab the cup of coffee, you wake up and you start getting shit done. Like sleep and dreaming, what happens passively just is just ephemeral. You just let it go, right? But in indigenous societies, half of the job of humaning happens in the dream, right? Like there are a lot of societies where you wake up in the morning and you're talking about your dreams, right? And if you have one that is very clearly giving you instructions, and we'll talk about different kinds of dreams, it's your job to make that happen, right? That's the linking. That's the human job of linking the dream time with this material world, right? Like spirits don't have bodies. They can't, stack bricks. They can't carry water, right? Like there are certain things that, the blessing of this body is like a responsibility for us to do, right? So enacting that dream would look like a song, right? It would look like a ritual. It would look like a dance. It would look like the creation of a medicine, right? Something that needs to be shifted in this world to keep it in balance with the dreaming, right? Like it was our job to be watching, like, oh, this needs to happen, right? Now that's like the primary focus of a shaman, right? Or a medicine person or a poet or a bard, but everybody in the community was also paying attention, right? And like more and more weight gets placed on on the priest, right? As regular people become more overwhelmed and more unable to do that job for their families or for themselves, right? This is the creation of hierarchy. And this is the disempowerment of regular people, right? It kind of goes hand in hand with class divisions. Does that make sense? Again, like let me know, because not like exactly all here. So that's why I'm so passionate about this, right? Because dream work is also just empowerment, right? Like creative empowerment, health empowerment, um, community empowerment, right? Like you have your own connection to the divine. You have your own connection to the source of all energy and real wisdom, right? And it really does start with taking your dreams seriously, taking what happens when you fall asleep seriously, like knowing that's real, right? And even if all you get is just a mood when you wake up, right? Take that mood really seriously, right? Like treat that mood as sacred, or, a color behind your eyes, or, whatever you're feeling in your body. Like, no, this is sacred. How I'm waking up, what I see, what I'm feeling, what I'm remembering. This is what I'm bringing back from my soul's journey in the other world, right? This is what I get. This is my starting point, right? I'm reborn as I open my eyes and I begin taking in the light of this world, right? I've just been soaking in the light of the other world. This is what I'm carrying back. How do I want to carry it back? Right? And every choice that you make from there is a new way. You're deciding, how are you going to distribute this light, right? How am I going to move this medicine, right? What are my priorities now? What am I going to do with this? Right? And remember, I talk about this a lot. As you're sleeping and your soul's traveling, you're horizontal, right? You're in the feminine, right? This movement from laying down and being in the feminine to being upright, to being masculine, making decisions, making movements, that's the most important shift that we make, right? Moving on the medicine wheel, right? This is the beginning of our zodiac, right? This cross, these are our in the astrology that we learn, these are the the pillars of the heavens. These are the cardinal points, the directions. I've written, I think you all have written about the directions. It's really important, these two poles alchemically. It's really important, these two poles, right? So like what we carry with us as we make this movement and as we make this movement, right? It's the same as the rising of the sun, right? Or the passage of the moon around those cycles, those two liminal spaces as we go from waking, as we go to dreaming. What are we carrying with us, right? Which is why ritual is so important and why practicing that is so important, right? So like every time we meditate, every time we open a session, right, with our opening rituals, we're practicing, right? Doing that consciously. When we begin to let go, right, as we like sink in and give over our will and begin to enter into that, that journey that we make to that sacred fire and calling in our guides, right? That's like mimicking that passage. It's a mini conscious entering into the dreaming, right? And that's why I place so much priority on that, because that is entering into the dream realm. And if you do that enough, right, you become more and more conscious as you make your passage into your dreams. Okay, I just talked a lot there. I would love to hear from you all. When I say that, I would love to hear about your dream lives and where you feel like you want help, where you want support, what you would like out of a group in this container. We can always go to the PowerPoint also. I do have one. And yeah, and wait, so tell me, who's ready to speak?
Well, I will. I'm actually in Sybil's Cave because of a dream.
Really?
Yes. I um I mean, I've been doing psychoanalysis for 8 years, so everything you're saying
Oh,
about
wow.
dreaming. Yes. Um, I don't know if I should have admitted that, but everything
I
you're
think it's
saying.
awesome.
I mean, I'm completely on board with everything that you're saying, and you know, but yes, it was so interesting because I mean, I don't know if you want me to just briefly tell the story of the dream, but um, when I had gotten your your write up about Sybil's Cave, it seemed extremely interesting to me, and I loved what you said about obviously people who take writing seriously have never read Oscar Wilde or consulted Ouija for it. I still think of that when I need to be cheered up. But anyway, so I thought this is really great. I mean, this is something that I wanted to join, but then I was unsure, and then I thought, and then I had trouble, as you know, with the sort of how to get money from this country to your country. It was a really, really difficult challenge. So I thought, okay, obviously that's a sign from the universe that it's not meant to be. And then that night, I had a really powerful, vivid dream in which, just to give like a few details, um, I was I was basically sitting by a river, and a crow flew to my shoulder, and it basically told me a few, like it was started talking to me in a very oracular way, and I never I don't remember everything that it said, but it said a few things, and then you appeared by the river, and I found that really strange because I normally don't dream about people whom I've never seen in person, you know. I guess you had included a picture in your write-up, but I'd never actually seen you in any animate way. So, and you asked me personally to join your group. And then we went to this restaurant, and everybody in the group was sitting around a table. And as I find it so interesting, because one of the pictures that you use um, to kind of signal group meetings, it's people sitting around this wooden table. I always get a little bit of a chill every time I see it because it reminds me of my dream. And and beside the table were all of these letters, and they were letters from everywhere from the 1200s to our present day. And our task around the table was to decode these letters. And one of the letters had the clear word on it, which is it's a Japanese word. At the time, I was helping a Japanese student with the project, and the word was marihito, which basically means stranger deity, because the ancient Japanese thought all strangers who came into the land were actually deities, there to either help them or bring some wisdom from afar, and that kind of thing. So they all thought that that strangers sort of housed some aspect of a kami or a deity. So after I had that dream, I said, "Oh, I've got to find some way to get the money over there and join this crew," and it worked out.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really incredible.
I know, it's
I did
unbelievable.
not I did not mean to use your dream time for advertising for Sybil's Cave.
I guess you just I guess you just walk between the worlds when
Yeah,
people are asleep.
it's like next, like part of me is like, we don't want this to get out to some of the to a certain segment of the coaching population, right? Like entering into people's dream times to advertise for their group.
Well, apparently there's a movie coming out exactly on that topic.
What?
Yes, I was listening to a podcast about it. It was on This Youngie in Life. They had the actress, and they're doing this movie with Nicolas Cage, and he can enter people's dream time and do advertising. And so it seems a little terrifying.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that is. Wow. Well, I'm glad it happened in your case. I have had, but the thing is, like, I have had people come to, like, get sessions with me because they said I've come into their dreams. And
Oh,
part of me is like, "That's really cool," and part of me is like, "Yo, Crystal, that's like, you know, I don't know if you should be doing that." You know? You really need to think about the ethics of
but it
it.
wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen if it was not a synchronous in some way.
Yeah, no, 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 I know. I just like to keep myself in check, however. Well, thank you, but, is there anything particular that you'd like to work on in regards to your linking to the dream time or your, liminal skills?
Well, I would actually like to see, like, I've never been in a dream circle, so I would really interested to see what happens when there's just, more than me working on dreams.
Right, yeah, so group work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe Jesse, maybe you can talk a little bit about the kind of work we were doing at because I could talk about it, but I would love to, hear from somebody who because I know you're here because you're a big fan of the Dreamwork circles. Maybe you could talk a little bit about what it was like for you when we would do our group work with dreaming, and then maybe some about what you'd like to get from this new iteration.
Sure. Sorry, I might have I had a really, really awful day yesterday, so I'm having like, and this is like bringing up emotions, just like being in this group. So having a hard time talking right now.
Whatever you need.
um, yeah, I really do want to. I'm gonna try to like ground down because I feel like I have a lot to say. And
Let's you know what? Before this, let's go ahead and do we have our ritual supplies? Do we want to do our little it would probably be helpful for Jesse. Okay, right. So let's go ahead and light our smoke offering. Okay. Once you have that going, let's go ahead and sit back and do exactly Jesse just requested and ground down. You can give over the weight of your bones to your chair, to the floor, to the earth. Stop doing that work of fighting gravity and just let it coat you like a blanket. Let the smell of the plant do its work, oh so passively, on your chemical body, your emotional body. If you haven't already, come into your wide angled vision, noticing your peripheries with your eyes closed, extreme left, right, up, down. Find your breath. Find your heartbeat. And see if you can tune into the coursing of your blood, syncing it with the rhythm of your breath. The next couple of exhales, focus on getting even heavier in your chair. Asking this beautiful plant ally, asking of this sacrifice as it makes its transition from the material to the ethereal, as you do at nighttime. Asking it to take away whatever pain, distractions, whatever discomfort you feel in your body, to carry it on with it, which it will do oh so generously. And as it carries those away, it's going to open a little portal for your psyche, for a little bit of your spirit to travel with it. Now set out that intention, make that call through that portal with that plant ally for your guides, your ancestors to follow, to come to you. Or for you to join them. A little bit of both, maybe. Feel them surrounding you. See their faces. Notice what clothes they're wearing. Maybe there's shells or bones or bells, sounds as they walk. Take in the landscape you're entering or that's coming to you. What does the soil look like? How does it feel on your feet? What trees are around you? Or maybe it's dark. Now you see that bonfire. Maybe you've already been standing in front of it, illuminating the space around you. You smell the wood of the smoke. Feel the warmth of the fire on your face. Give permission for these guides and allies to work with those of everyone else present today and everybody who's going to join us on the replay. And feel the power of that group get stronger. Maybe there's concentric circles or a spiral of guides. Maybe it's this really big circle. Thank them for coming today. Thank them for helping to initiate this circle, for dream walking, for dream working. And slowly open your eyes. Look down at your candle. Try to keep your wide-angled vision. Try to keep noticing your breath and your heart. And on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, let's light our candles. Gaze down into the candle. Maybe your smoke offering's still going. Maybe you want to light it again. Gaze at your candle with your wide-angled vision. Watch the smoke rise. This flame and this smoke are 2 essential teachers for working with our dreams, for intentionally making that shift from the material to the realm of spirit. Now, I always say this, but let's try to take this really seriously right here with your eyes open as you gaze down at this candle. This flame is that bonfire. I want you to hold that idea. Also see if you can imagine that you're seeing it. Maybe you can. Maybe you can just paste that image that you just had behind your eyes of that bonfire and of that circle right on top of this flame. Or maybe it's just a feeling that this flame is that fire. Or maybe it's just an intellectual idea that you hold, that you play with in your mind. That's poetry. Okay, one more second watching the candle with your wide-angled vision. And let's go ahead and come back to the screen. Okay. Was that helpful, Jesse?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, if it was anything other than a Dreamwork circle, I wouldn't be here right now, but felt really important for me to come because of all the things we've done, and she and Gaia and Sybil's Cave, like the Dreamwork circle is so important to me. So I really wanted to be here.
Thank you.
I was struggling. Anyways, yeah, so dreams have always been really important to me. It's a space where I feel very powerful, which I sometimes have a hard time doing in my waking life. But when I started doing the Dreamwork Circle with Crystal and Gaia, that was the first time I'd ever experienced like being part of a group where dreams, like Crystal was talking about, are treated as like sacred and more than sacred, as like real. And that was like such a mind shift for me that really has taken my dreaming and the link of dreaming to my waking life to like a whole nother place. And I would love to speak to the power of working in a group with dreams. I've experienced both with my dreams and working with others' dreams. It becomes, when we're all linked like ceremonially like that, it's just extremely powerful how like the meaning of your dreams can really, you can like re-enter your dream and like find the meaning that was hard to grasp alone, and like the others in the circle really can like, I don't know if I'm being very coherent right now, but they like enter your dream with you and they can like, everybody brings like a piece of your dream out, and it's really powerful, like the messages that they get and reflect back to you. It really helps bring clarity to the dream and like what the medicine of that dream is. And I've had experiences where like I brought a dream to the circle that I was like, I'm not really understanding, but like felt really powerful, and everybody like helped me to really understand that dream and then like re-enter it and like interact with the power of that dream. And like it truly can shift the dynamics of your waking life in this amazing way. Like I had this one dream where like after bringing it to the circle, like the next day and the following week, like patterns that I've been trying to break in my life for like my whole life shifted. So it's extremely powerful. I'm sorry, I'm so emotional right now. So it's very powerful, and I just I'm really excited to be doing it with you guys. And what else do I want to say? Oh, I also like want to share that I'm really proud of myself that I've really started committing to my dream journal lately, and it's so important if you guys aren't doing that, like, because if you do it like right when you wake up and you're like not trying to put meaning to it, you like just write what happened and like the feeling and the mood. And then like as I go back and revisit my journal, it's like it all starts to make sense, and it's like they piece together, and it's like really amazing. And you know, the thing that really helped me to actually start doing it was I gave myself permission to do it on the computer rather than writing it, which feels really like silly, but I just like couldn't commit to it when I was trying to write because it's so slow, and it felt like such an onerous chore to like write it out as my thoughts were going to do, and I'm trying to keep up with my hand. So giving myself the permission, it felt like sacrilegious to like open my computer and type it, but giving myself the permission to do that has helped me to like do it on a daily basis. So put that out there if that's something that you guys are struggling with. Like it's so hard to, you know, anyways, sometimes we get caught up on little things like that, and then it's like silly because it's more important to just do it. So anyways, I think that's all I have to say right now. Thanks guys for letting me just kind of pour myself out.
Oh, thank you. That's what we're here for. And thank you for that note about using the computer. That's a good one. That's a really good one. Yeah. Don't let things like that stand in your way. That's great, Justin. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Frederick, do you want to share anything?
I feel like I'm mostly just curious. Like that's the strongest emotion around dreams around right now. In that sense that more and more it is sort of coming to me that it is a real place somehow. And I never thought about it like that. Like I also just dismiss it as everybody else. But that sense of basically I'm missing out on a big part of my life by not paying attention to my dreams. And I want to know what's going on. Like clearly something interesting is going on in that place that I'm not aware of. So I want to know what it is. I don't always feel super good about dream interpretation. Like it has felt sort of trying to force it into some kind of particular theoretical framework where it doesn't always seem to fit very well. Like it seems like the meaning is in the phenomenology of the dream itself, and you don't have to theorize or intellectualize about it. Yeah. So I think to me it's more about experiencing what's actually going on and then being in that world and acting in with that instead of trying to translate it too much.
Yeah, Jesse will tell you I'm pretty anti-translation and interpretation myself. That's the space I hold. That it's more they're actual living beings, right? Like everything in the landscape is animate in and of itself. Right. And like when we do the kind of work that Jesse was talking about, we actually invite, like through Dreamwork, right? We in journey work, we invite that being into the space. Right. And we enter and interact. Like we don't think of the dream as something that has had happened. Right. We invite it into the present. Right, because that's the thing, like our dreams that happen. So it's like you're talking about like missing out. It's like, yeah, there's a way in which you're missing out if you're not thinking about your dreams, right? But the thing is, they're here with you right now, right? Like the dream world doesn't work on a timeline like we conceive of a timeline, right? So we can step back in to the dream and re-meet that moment, right? And allow it to change, right? And like be what it is, right? And that's kind of how we work at the medicine, right? Like if I'm explaining this how you've experienced it, Jesse, that we allow the feelings and sensations that you had to shift with what's present now. Right? Does that make sense? So it's like we're not working with like this relic, right? We're working with like a continually lived experience of that dream. So it's like when you're writing your dreams, it's helpful. I don't know if this is a tool that I actually spoke about directly, but it's helpful if you write about your dreams in the present moment, right? Like in the present tense, right? Like as if you're reliving them, right? And that's like, you don't have to, like, as long as you're just writing down anything, right? It's doing that work of bridging worlds, like literally just like waking up and writing anything, right? Like stamping some reality and some importance onto your dream is going to make your dreams, make your conscious mind place more importance on your dream, help your body place more importance on your dreams, right? Like as a source of energy, as a source of vitality, as a source of growth, as a source of connection, as a source of community, right? Like there's so many medicines that come from just allowing that space to have links with what you're doing in this world, right? So a fun thing, one of the most powerful tricks that I've learned in regards to, I don't know how many of you are interested. Raise your hand if you're interested in becoming more lucid in your dreams or lucid regularly. All right. This is going to sound really silly. I'm just throwing it out here right off the bat, because we can all make a commitment to try to do this. Once a day, look somebody in the eye and say, did you know that we're dreaming? Do you know that we're dreaming right now? And let's do that. Let's all look at each other and just say, do you know that we're dreaming right now?
Do you
Good.
know that we're dreaming right now?
Good.
Do you know that we're dreaming right
Dreaming
now?
right now.
All right, so we just did it today. Now let's try to do it tomorrow. So clearly it has to be somebody who knows that you're not crazy, right? But it really works. Eventually, you will find yourself in a dream, looking somebody in the eye and saying, you know that we're dreaming right now? And you'll get lucid. And there's going to be a link, an unbreakable link between your conscious mind, this reality, and that reality. Your dreams are, you just have to like keep nurturing it. But once it happens once, it's like that link's there. You're going to be in your dream, know that you're dreaming, and you're going to get to go have all kinds of awesome adventures in different realms, different realities, different times, meet fascinating people, different aspects of yourself and whatever you want to think of, different dimensions. It's really quite incredible and can give you some of the most profound experiences of your life. This has been my sales pitch for getting into lucid dreaming. It's not something that anybody has to do. There are some people who think that you shouldn't. There's some people who warn against it. Lucid dreaming, that we're not supposed to have that kind of control over the dream time. I think that's silly, but there are people who are afraid of everything. Right? Like that it's like somehow going to affect your karma. Right? But the vast majority of tradition, the vast majority, say the spiritual work that you do when you're dreaming, like increases like, some people say like 100-fold, right? Like one meditation session when you dream, right? Or like good works that you do while you're dreaming. But there are a lot of Taoist traditions actually that really, really like say it's like the peak is when you can do your practices while you're dreaming. Right? So doing, spiritual practices while you're dreaming. Me, I don't often, honestly, like when I lucid dream, I have very little self-control. Like I have gotten myself to sit down and meditate, but mostly like as soon as I'm lucid, I just want to fly.
Me too.
And like I really can't get myself to do much else than like fly around. Like I'll get like caught in adventures and stuff, but I do not very often get myself to do spiritual practices. I do not have that much discipline. It's something that I'm working on. But so that's one thing. This is all just to say. One option is working on tools for gaining lucidity in this group, right? Like I agree with Jesse. Everybody got a lot from. I really think we should do that. The group journey, Dreamwork, sharing dreams. There are also some other things that I would like to bring to the table. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and share the screen, just show you different options for things that I've come up with for us to use our Dreamwork circle for. But as we've all agreed, mostly spirit just decides what happens here. Okay, so what will we do in this meetup? This will be more like, what can we do in this meetup, right? Primary one, we've hit on this a lot, nourishment of our dream life by giving it regular attention. That's the most important thing. Basically, just showing up here is going to be huge for you, right? Just like dedicating this time once a month to getting together with people to talk about your dreams. That's going to get you really far. As I just, said, it's one of the first things I added, tools for working towards lucidity and skill in lucidity, because there are definitely levels of skill once you get lucid. There's sky's the limit. It's some real mage shit. Tools for going deeper in lucidity and staying there longer. Tools and support for remembering dreams. We all have phases where we have difficulty remembering our dreams, and there are lots of ways that we can get better at remembering our dreams when it's the time, right? Like sometimes we just need a little bit of oblivion, some, more time and deep sleep, and let's not shame ourselves for that. Like, right, like, a plant isn't always flowering, and that's totally okay, right? So just remembering there's times for everything. Tools for working with nightmares and night terrors is something that I struggled with a lot in my life. So it's something that I've developed a number of tools for. Know that these are nightmares and night terrors are complicated but powerful, right? And if you work with them with the right mindset and with the right support, you can get a lot of medicine, a lot of creative power, and a lot of spiritual growth from working with these forces of darkness, which aren't always darkest power, right? Group support for following guidance from the dream time, right? Like this is what, Jessie was sensing at, right? Like when we work with these in groups, what she was telling us about her, an example. Like sometimes we need often, right? I say sometimes. We're going to say often, almost always. You're going to be able to access and get much more clarity from your dreams when you share it with somebody and they offer you a reflection, right? Because that's the way dreaming was handled in a lot of indigenous folk societies. It was like I said, like first thing in the morning, you were eating breakfast or around the fire, you were sharing dreams and receiving reflections, right? Like it was a really important part of life, right? And the important ones you took to somebody who's received permission to help you figure out how to work with dreams. Like there would have been somebody that you went to who you could really trust to tell you how to act on a dream or how to act out a dream if it was complicated, right? So that's one of the things we're going to be doing. And this is kind of a similar thing. Group support for getting meaning from dream images and storylines. Those two things are really rather similar. Okay. We already did the opening ritual. What could, we're going to rephrase this, what could a regular meetup look like? This is something we did not do very often in Gaia because I really like to just get to the meat of things, but I would like to kind of ground each meetup with welcoming in the moon, because the moon is such an important transmitter of the dream time, right? Like everything that comes to us both in this reality, in our dreams, has to go through the moon and is shaped by the phase of the moon, right? So it's really I think we could do a lot more work and also, ground ourselves in these cycles that we honor so much in the School of Heaven and Earth, these astral cycles, by, just placing focus on just the moon, right? Like we can think about planetary aspects, on our own later, but just recognizing that that's, if we could say, almost like the title of the poem, right? Or like the Latin name of the species of the plant that we're working with, right? But like an important signifier for this is happening within the context of, right, even if just knowing that it's a waxing or a waning moon, right? But then like adding in the sign, gives us more detail. Okay, so I'd like to do that, and someone can hold me accountable for doing that. And of course, we'll call in our guides, set personal intentions. Sometimes we might want to set group intentions and give permission for our guides to work together. We always do that. And then, we pretty much always do this as well, Something I'd like to get into more, I think you saw my post, is, we always do meditation and some embodiment. I'd like us to do, even just briefly, some intoning together, right? Like I'd like to us to like a little more consciously work with our voice and practice modulating our voices, because our voice is one of the most powerful kind of gift channels that we can give to these spirits. The sound is the force of creation, right? So I'd like to work a little bit more on that in the group. If we can, in Gaia, we are going to be, honoring kind of, this is also, title-ish, getting into the meat and the substance. What herbal ally, what stone ally are we working with this session? And some of us will be in different places, and that's okay. Just acknowledging it for yourself, who are you bringing in, right? So, some of you might be, bringing in chickweed. Some of you might be working on, a different plant, one that we are working with in Gaia. Some of you still might be working with nettles, but just acknowledging that that's a plant, or, ruby, that's a stone whose intelligence is coming forth in the work that you're doing and maybe joining us in the group. Just acknowledging that. And these are things that can be done, briefly. We might take some time, this is more of a Gaia thing, we might take some time to share from, important messages that we've gotten from our journeys, our diets, our dreams, something that you just want to, like put on the table. This happened. That could be a starting point for some group work. And sometimes, I don't think we're going to do this every time, unless there's, kind of like how we have special sessions in Gaia, like, we're working on sound patterns right now. We can sometimes take time. I will say, when we do the group dream work, it really does take up the meat of the session. And, I do like that, but occasionally we might want to work on some, particular tools, right? Studies of, different symbols and how to make meanings from different symbols, right? Meaning making studies in general, right? That's a lot of what we do in our, when we do our, literary salons, or whatever you want to talk about, like, when we're talking about Rumi and Rabia, that's all about meaning making, right? It's a really broad category, but there are there are ways that you can be more skillful or less skillful in it, right? So that is something that we can spend time with. Cross-cultural comparisons of how to work with dreams, or ways that told for, it's a big job, but it's something that we do, we are doing regularly in Sybil's Cave, right? Pulling in from the invisible to make something new in the material, right? And there are cultures that still have maps for doing that, right? And so that sounds really broad when I say it, and it could make it more specific, but there's so many different ways to do it, right? Like through the body, through the voice, through literally just like sheer transmission of energy out of your body, right? Like practices for working with the elements, working with heat, working with water, using it to, open into different people, to connect, right? And then with words, like we do with language, as we do in Sybil's Cave. So that's why it sounds so broad, but just one of the things we could do is just look at different ways that cultures develop skill in doing that, right? Which sounds broad because it's basically like, hey, this is life. This is what it is to be a human. We're doing this all the time. We just don't put much conscious thought on where our impulses, thoughts, emotions are coming from, right? And this is just the art of bridging that. Does that make sense? Am I making any sense right now? Okay, thank you. Oops. All right, and then of course, we're going to do contained dream shares. and offering each other reflections. This one particular tool in Gaia, this one particular way that is one of my favorite ways of working with dreams, ended up being almost a bulk of what we did. So there's different ways that we can do this, but we'll probably just stick with what works. So sometimes we could do that in small group or pairs, but our group is typically cozy enough that we will be able to just do it in one group. How do I go back? All right. Something that we kind of did in Gaia, but that we could do with more structure is developing basically remedies, medicines, prescriptions, plans for how to develop more intimacy with particular dream characters, with images that come to us, ways to do that both in the dream and in journey work, which, you probably all get the idea that journey work is just that, dreaming is passively entering the dream time and journey work is actively entering the dream time, right? Coming at it from different ways. And we work together with them. So through journey work, we can work on places that are fuzzy or scary or just places that we want to develop more power. So we could, almost like prescriptively, like as a doctor, develop plans for addressing issues through journey work or through practices for more intentionally entering the dream time or coming out of the dream time, i.e. waking or falling asleep, right? And this could also include poetic prescriptions, right? Or, writing prescriptions, which could be really fun for us in Sybil's Cave. In our meetings, we can also do free writing and drawing to process and integrate journeys. And shares questions and assignments. Basically just said that. Right, and then close the container and send home guys. Okay. We got through a slideshow. What do you think?
I love that idea of prescribing medicine.
Definitely do that. We just have to leave enough time, which, as you all know, is a really weak point in my teaching game. Something I'm trying to work on. Other reflections or like things that, so we like the prescriptions, and that's something that we can actually like have a lot of fun with together and that we can get really creative about. So I am also excited about that. Are there any other things that I touched on or that is particularly exciting or that you want to focus on or have questions about?
I'm well, all of it. I'm like, I think we just need to like meet every day so we can do all of that. But yeah, I like the like tools for like actively learning new tools for like lucid dreaming or just like entering the dream time or the tools sounds awesome to me. And yeah, we'll see like how it ends up being. I don't know if you want to do like 1 month we're like talking about tools and then 1 month we're doing like actually and like dream work to get or because I know that we can spend like when we start doing it, it's like we could spend the whole time just, but it all sounds wonderful to me. So
I would love if we got enough interest, right? I would definitely be open to running this more than once a month. Just so you know, like if enough people were interested in committing to attending, I would definitely do this more often. Because, I mean, as you can see, I'm pretty passionate about it. I really believe in, this level of empowerment of our relationship with that other side of ourselves, right? but we can definitely, and with the time that we have left, that was one of the things I was planning on doing today, was specifically talking about Foles practices for entering the dreaming and exiting the dreaming. I mean, they're probably ones that you've heard before, Jesse, but we reminders are good. What about you, Frederick?
I'm just looking forward to bring more awareness to this area. I think I'm curious, and I think the sharing is going to be interesting. Like that's been my experience also with the poetry. Like I don't really get half of it if I just read it alone, but through that process of talking about it, I actually get much more out of it, and I believe the same is probably true with the dreams. So
There's a reason for that. Poetry and dreams are like the same fucking thing.
So I was just gonna say, I was like, they're just the same.
Same language. My apologies for cussing. My filters aren't all here. I swear a lot. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not kidding. I swear a lot. I was raised by biker truck drivers, right? Like I've got like the worst. Okay. All right. Okay. So next time we meet, we are going to do dream shares. I'm going to try to add a little bit of structure. I'm going to try to keep the container a little bit tighter than I normally do, because otherwise it'll be like 3 hours long. And can't do that as much as I want to. But with the time that we have, I'm going to offer up some practices, and I want you to know you don't, just like, Jesse was saying, you don't have to do all of them. You don't have to do them perfectly. Do what feels right, what feels natural, whatever is going to, like, whatever can come to you with the most ease, whatever can feel good to you, whatever feels exciting to you, because you want that positive neural imprint, right? So that you can make this a habit, make it a way of life, right? So everything that I say, I want you to take as just an option, a suggestion, recommendation, right? Not like a rule, not something that's like you're good or you're bad if you do it or you don't, right? So I'm going to give you a range of things that you could do. The first, and the one that I suggest that you take the most seriously, and it should come with ease because it's really natural, is when you wake up in the morning, do not sit up. Stay laying down. It's what you want to do anyway. So stay there, right? As soon as you sit up, you begin to lose your dreams. You begin to use a different part of you begin to use a different part of your brain. Let yourself be conscious slowly, right? Like as much as you can, right? You probably know setting an alarm is really rough. Sometimes we need an alarm, that's fine, but it's really rough, right? It's really hard on the system. It's going to jolt you into a very different part of your brain, but you can still roll over and turn the alarm off, and then try to lay back down and give yourself however many minutes you can to just feel, right? Try to not even think, just feel, right? Let yourself rest. And because the dream is, when you first wake up, the dream is still present with you. You're still in it. Those beings are still around you, right? Greet them slowly, right? Live in that space however you can. If dream images are still really alive, right? Like if you've got the story, if you're still in the story, check in with what feels sacred. But if you feel it fading, this is when it's time to start making those conscious links, right? And that's when you either begin saying out loud what you just saw, what you're feeling, right? Try to like say it in the present tense. You can make a voice note, right? You can tell, if you're sleeping with somebody, tell your partner. Some people call their friends, right? To start telling them what happened, or easiest option, write it down, right? Roll over, get your pen, get your paper, and start writing, right? Or grab your computer, or grab your phone and make a voice clip, right? And the things that if you don't have a story, right? If you just have an image, just really get into the details of that image. And you're going to find that when you start bringing words to the page, you're going to start, and this is why it's really important to still stay relaxed and like not overthink it and not try to interpret it. Because as you do that, that part of your brain that was in the dream is going to become active again. And if you're relaxed enough and still laying down, more of the dreams are going to start flooding forth, right? Like you might just have one story. By the time you start writing, you might have 7, right? Like you can just keep following them back because they're still present. They're going to come up and they're all linked, right? There's like a train of neural networks that can get lit up, right? And it might not be 7, but like, even if you get a few more images, it's like sometimes you can get to some really good, like really important stuff that you're like, oh my God, I forgot that was so beautiful, or oh wow, so wild, right? I can't believe I was going to write that off. And you're going to notice that the same thing happens when you start telling your dreams to other people, which is why if you have somebody you can, it is a really interesting practice to like call a friend or tell somebody about your dreams, because something that you wrote off is just really silly and really random, you're going to start saying it, and then your friend's going to look at you and you're wow, okay, yeah, that's actually really meaningful and really relevant to a lot that's happening in my life right now, right? Like that happens a lot, right? So yeah, so that first transition, really important. A lot of ways that you can take it. If you don't remember your dreams, like at all, right? There's just like nothing. That's okay. That can be really subtly powerful as well. You just notice what's happening in your body, right? That's an opportunity to just like lay there and how am I feeling right now? How's my body right now? Right? Like check in with your toes, check in with your feet, check in with your hands, check in with your jaw, right? What taste do I have in my mouth? What am I hearing around me? Right? Like check in with your senses and just be with your body, be with your emotions. Like I said, how am I feeling? What are some of the first thoughts that are coming in my head as I check in with my body? Where does my brain want to go? It's like that's still just that stillness, that time that you give yourself. It's like that's creating sacred portals with your dreams as well. And sometimes that's exactly what you need, right? Remember when I said like sometimes we, not everything's not flowering all the time, right? Sometimes when we wake up from dreams, exactly what we need to be doing is just feeling ourselves in our emotions, right? We just need to give ourselves that time there, right? Any questions about that or anything you want to add? Other tools that you've had in your journeys? Some people really hate waking up, right? I'm just going to put that out there. Some people have a really hard time waking up. Like they really don't want to get out of their beds, right? And that's why I recommend also when you wake up, having something really nice next to your bed. Like giving yourself really pleasurable, sensuous experiences before you even sit up, right? rose water, orange blossom water next to the bed, right? That you spritz your face with. You know, some favorite scent, right? Maybe like essential oil, whatever essential oil you like, mixed in with some water and witch hazel, maybe some aloe vera gel, right? Like, just make it really nice, right? Maybe you have some nice lotion or scented oil that you rub onto your hands or your face, right? A favorite tea already prepared that you can roll over and sip, or lovely music queued up that you can fall into. Some of these things are going to take you, you know, like a little bit out of the dreaming, but you just want to make waking a nice thing, right? And as much as you have time and space and capacity for, maybe you have a little bit of chocolate next to your bed or some like favorite treat, right? If you're somebody who just hates waking up, right? You want to try to make the waking up experience as blissful as you can, right? I forget which artist it was, some artist or a writer. He was clearly like some form of independently wealthy, or you know, just somebody who could live poor really well, you know, bohemian for sure. I need to look up who it was, but I've always loved this. It's like, if he woke up and he wasn't happy, if he didn't feel like it was going to be a good day, he just went back to bed. And then he was like, I'll wake up and try again. Not worth it. He literally said that was part of his practice. Like, it was like in an interview about like, how do you produce such genius works? He's like, you want me to be honest? If I wake up and it doesn't feel like it's going to be a good day, I just go back to bed. He's like, inevitably, when I wake up again, I'm in a much better mood. But it's like, it's like true in a way. It's like you want to feel good when you wake up, when you're going to approach the day. And if you're not, you want to do something meaningful to change your mind around how you are approaching your reality. Right? And that's why for a lot of people, a morning practice is important. But the thing is, some people treat a morning practice like a punishment. Like, this is the thing I have to do. I have to wake up and meditate for an hour. Right? I have to wake up and do so much yoga. I have to wake up and give offerings. Right? Like, that is like not the attitude that you want to have. Right? Because that's not a good day. Right? You might as well just go back to bed. Like, I don't even remember who that was, but that dude was way more onto something, right? Than people who are like really strict about their practices, like, you know, or, you know, like punishing about them. Does that make sense? Any questions, comments, additions?
Sounds, yeah, I have a really hard time waking up because I just want to stay in the dreams. And it always feels like a little bit violent to have to initiate my day. And so I like that idea that I'm gonna have to think about what it could be that like could something sensual that could like entice me into the waking world, but I'm gonna think about that. It sounds nice.
Like, for me, I love doing my altar work, right? Like, that's an aspect of my morning that I really look forward to, right? Because candles are nice. Burning incense is nice, right? Like, I make a lovely little plate of food that looks pretty and like I like it, right? Like some berries here, right? Like a bit of chocolate here, butter and honey, ooh, yum yum. You know, like that feels good to me, right? Like, arrange some flowers. Like it's indulgent. Right? Like, and there's a way in which it's like playful, right? And all of these things are best, like all practices are best done when it's playful. Like when you think about meditation, it's very childish. I'm going to sit here and see what kind of tricks my brain plays on me. You know what I mean? Like Alan Watts put it one time. Meditation is a perfect waste of time. Like it is. It's a perfect waste of time. In both ways. Totally legit. Right? So it's like that's the kind of I feel like that's the kind of mindset where we reap the most fruit, but you can't be thinking about reaping the fruit in order to enter it like that. Right? You have to take it not seriously at all. Right? Which is why, I think Oscar Wilde was one of the greatest sages planet has ever seen. He found so many different ways to talk about not taking life seriously. Right? Being the path to wisdom. We are coming up on the end here, right? I gave tools for waking, tools for falling asleep, right? Equally important. I myself have had a very troubled relationship with falling asleep. So I only really have skills for somebody who has trouble falling asleep. There are a lot of people who fall asleep very easily, or maybe fall asleep too easily, and then they don't really get the preparatory process or that, extending the liminal stage, right? Because in both falling asleep and waking up, what we really want to do is extend that liminal stage so that we can enter in or exit intentionally and with awareness, right? Both of these are how we eventually develop skills for either astral projection or lucid dreaming, right? Which are different ways of becoming conscious that mimic waking and falling asleep, right? So when we fall asleep, one of the best things that we can do as we're falling asleep is do as much conscious work as we can, as feels good, as feels fun, of emptying the shit out of our head, right? Because one phase of sleeping, of dreaming, one kind of dream, one level of dream is replaying and figuring out shit that happened, right? Like the brain, and it's important, right? But once we get through all of that, we can begin having more interesting dreams. Like, I don't want to say more interesting. I don't want to place value on it, but it's like you will have more fun, right? Like you will have more fun in your dreams if you do the conscious work of replaying shit while you're still awake before you fall asleep, right? Journal, talk to a friend, meditate, right? Whatever you need to do to clear out your head and feel good about what happened that day. Does that make sense? Like meditation, watching your thoughts, giving them over, right? The kind of meditation where you are just, being aware of what you're thinking and giving it over in whatever way that you can. That's a great way to clear out the brain. Journaling, also a great way to clear out your brain. Free writing, excellent way to clear out your brain. Meaningful conversation with a friend who actually gives a shit. Great way. Not a friend who actually causes you more anxiety and feels like that they're judging you or that, gives you a lot of their shit, right? Like we all have friends that do that. Depending on where they are, judge and see if you have a friend or somebody available that you could, equally swap airtime, right, in the conversation for processing what happened that day. Or give it to your journal, give it to your creative process. Or, you know, you could just, I forget who it was, Eckhart Tolle, some smart guy, just said if you literally just lay there and review what happened that day in bed, that works too, right? Just literally playing out and remembering what happened that day, and then let yourself fall asleep, that you're going to have more interesting dreams. Okay, so there's that. And then making sure you're actually relaxed when you go to bed, right? Because we can fall asleep still holding a lot of tension in our bodies, right? Like some people are actually pros at that, right? People who hold themselves tight all day can also hold themselves very tight at night, right? Commonplace, people who grind their teeth, you're holding a ton of tension in their jaws. People who have carpal tunnel are often squeezing their hands because it's comfortable. It's become comfortable for us to hold tension there. Maybe in the hips, right? Everybody knows. And when you're doing those check-ins, like where am I holding tension? When we go into dreaming, what do you need to give over? Or when we go into journey work, so the parts that you have trouble feeling heavy on the floor, oftentimes those are going to be holding on to tension when you're falling asleep, right? Soft mattresses, you probably know this, allow you to fall asleep comfortably while holding on to more tension than hard mattresses, right? Like with a hard mattress, you know where you're tight because it hurts like hell, right? That's why monks use them. I'm absolutely not saying to go get a hard mattress, right? Because you need to sleep and you deserve to sleep comfortably, right? You deserve that luxury, right? But it is interesting to note, right? And maybe you slowly want to work your way up to having a little more feedback from the earth on how your body is, right? That's why massaging your body and where you tend to hold tension before bed is going to help you to have more interesting dreams, right? Because our dreams come from our bodies. Our dreams, like our bodies are still involved in our dreaming, right? Even as our soul travels, right? And you're going to notice dreams can be linked with different parts of the geography that is your body, right? And we can talk more about that at some time. But for now, know that the most important places in massage are wherever you're holding the most tension. But as a general rule, your feet. Massaging your feet before you sleep is very helpful to getting better, more healing sleep, which is going to lead to more interesting dreams. You're going to be less likely to have those like anxiety dreams that we all hate, right? But that we all get, and that are absolutely 1,000% linked to where you chronically hold tension in your body and all the stories that live in those tissues, right? Anything else? We can save the rest for another time. There's more, but we hit on the things that I feel like are most important. Also, make sure you're hydrated before you go to bed. Hydrate yourself through the day. Dehydration will lead to anxiety dreams and not sleeping as well. So just, hydrating, drink your herbs. And we'll get into setting intentions another time. But you can set intentions for your dreams. Just know they're going to communicate in unexpected ways. We can get into the art of that another time. All right. Any final, I'm fine with going over anything that you want to share?
Well, I'm also interested in what you'll have to say eventually about night terrors, because I have them every night, and I would like to sleep at other people's places with the light off. So
Okay, I know where you are. We will definitely talk about that. In fact, that might be one of the first things we discuss.
okay.
Anybody else, either of you get night terrors, nightmares, struggle with dark dreams? Jesse, I know you do. Frederick, not at all.
Not really.
Okay. Well, it is an interesting thing to talk about. We will definitely address that. For now, just know everything that I just said is going to help. But honestly, that would be something, message me. I would be totally willing at a discount. We can talk about a price that would be workable for you, but you could also work on that with private sessions. That is is a specialization of mine. But very often we want to go, if you have them every night.
Yeah.
I want to look at I want to look at your chart. I want to talk to you. I want to hear your story. I mean, we'll do work here, but every night is like that's a real thing, I don't mean to hit you with anything.
No. I know it's something, but because I used to have them ever since I was a child, but not every night, but lately.
Yeah, so I mean, this is something I'm pretty open about. I didn't know that you weren't supposed to have nightmares every night until I was like 18, 19. So I have a long history of nightmares, night terrors every night.
I just want to make the distinction though, like it's like when I say night terrors, I mean actual hallucinations.
Waking up
night
screaming, yeah.
Well, yeah, seeing something in the room, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. They can be, depending on, this is a big topic. They can be linked depending on what their source is. But night terrors are, yeah, that's a real thing, and it can make sleeping absolutely miserable. Does it make sleeping miserable for you?
Not in my own room, but I'm the type of person who I like to sleep in a dark room. And then also the older the city is, the worse they are.
Yeah.
So it's when I'm sleeping at other people's.
Okay. All right. I know that map.
Okay.
We definitely talk about that. I mean, that's real witchy work. Are you putting some intentionality behind it? Are you putting some ritual behind it now?
A little bit. And anything I do in my own room works.
Yeah, you have to adapt when you go to new places, for sure. So well, that's good. Well, it sounds like you're in a good place with it.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, I wouldn't mind hearing what you have to say though. Just.
Oh yeah. Okay.
For
Well, this is good. I take back the should have consultation. You already know what's going on.
Okay.
It sounds like. I mean, if you want to, you can. But it sounds like you actually got that landscape pretty under control for yourself, which is good. Because I mean, the thing is, we work with spirits all the time, right? Some of us get called to duty in different ways, right? And that's kind of I guess this is good that this is coming up. That's with greater power comes greater responsibility aspect of things. Like this is the disclaimer, right? Like as you do this work, spirits will know that you're doing this work, and they will want something from you. They will want your attention. and you have to have boundaries around it, right? Like, just like relationships with people. It's like you're going to have relationships with these spirits that you meet, right? And you have to treat those relationships just like you would human people, right? And we tend to build skill in one and then build skill in the other, right? Like Jessie was saying, you know, her experience of, you know, interacting with these beings in the dream time helped her to have, I believe it was, you know, better boundaries, being able to assert yourself better, right? Like knowing your value a little bit more, knowing the value of your time, the value of your resources, right? We need to do the same thing with spirits. You know, people who are plagued with night terrors, sometimes, you know, recurring nightmares, even, or, you know, the same figures coming, right? You need to assert yourself, right? Set boundaries and do the work of figuring out, you know, what needs to be done in each situation. You know, just like we do, you know, you don't want to people please spirits, right? Like spirits will, they can bully you, right? Like it's not like all spirits are, you know, good and want the best for you. Like some spirits want to drain your energy just like people do, right? And you don't have to be like afraid of entering into these kinds of contracts, right? But you just want to make sure you know your power. And for somebody who's doing the work of channeling or clearing spaces or, you know, medium work of any kind, which can look a million different ways, you kind of need to have office hours, right? And know the scope of work that you're willing to do, that you're able to do, the energy that you have available, right? And once you know that, you begin to emanate that, right? And if there are intrusive beings who it's like, you just gotta be like, you know, close the door, right? Does that make sense? But then there's also learning from them, right? Like in each situation, you're being aware that this is happening. And, you know, I'm kind of like talking about it very lightly, right? And that's just, you know, for teaching purposes for people who, you know, genuinely like sometimes we can't like in an emergency situation, you know, we don't have the time to, what does the closing of this door mean in 12 different layers of my life? You know, like what other aspects of my life do I need to close the door on, right? Like you just need to close the damn door, right? But then looking back on it, you might want to be like, why did that spirit come in? Is that because I'm still struggling with getting the approval of my father? Is that because I, you know, haven't fully processed the grief that I felt when, you know, my ex betrayed me, right? Like there are going to be those links, but you don't have to always be thinking about those links. Am I still making sense?
Yep, I think a little bit too much sense. It is a little scary.
Is it? It doesn't have to be.
Okay.
Right? But we're naturally scared of spirits, right? Like it is true. It is scary, right? Like ghosts are scary. Like we tell ghost stories. Like there are some cultures that don't go out at night, right? These are traditional cultures. It's like there are people that the certain people in on the Dene reservations, they will like if you're gonna go out at night, they're like, what are you doing? There's ghosts out there. You know, like, why would you leave now? Right? Like it's natural to have a fear of the dark, right? To have a fear of spirits. But the thing is, if they're coming to you, well, they're coming to you. Right? And that's your job. You can block them out, but they're not naturally scary. Right? And doing dream work doesn't necessarily mean that you have to interact with ghosts and spirits, right? But it does mean that if you have that natural ability, it will become more common. And also, if you want to do that work, that you can do that work. It's an option. Now, does that make sense? Right? Because this is the kind of work that we're doing here, especially with lucidity and astral travel. It's like, that is the work that you do to be able to see spirits. And there are a lot of people who do spiritual practices who want to be able to see spirits, right? Because that does lend you the ability to do pretty profound healing work and do things like have your entire body disappear and walk into the dream world and be able to walk back out with a herb, you know, like that's radical, but that's power. That's how one heals. But lots of cultures still think that's scary. Right? And not everyone in a culture has to do that. Right? Like I said, like these are traditional cultures that still really value dreaming, that still really think ghosts are scary. Just saying like that is natural, but that's something that I'm interested in, right? But I'm not, definitely wouldn't put that on anyone else, because it is hella annoying to get woken up by a ghost at night. That's never not annoying or scary. I don't think. I haven't experienced it. All right. It's going to a really weird place. Is that useful? Should I cut this out in the replay? Should this just be for our group? Do I need to trim this?
No.
Okay. All right. Any other final thoughts? Was that helpful, Adriana?
I need to process it. I don't know if it was helpful or not. It's not you, it's me. It's just because I have to think about it, because it can be a little, as you said, you know, it can be a little scary when you're actually thinking about what's happening.
Yeah.
So I just need some time to reflect on it. That's all.
Yeah, because you used the word hallucination, and I don't believe it's hallucination, or at least not entirely. Right? Like I don't believe it.
I feel like you guys are like needing to have a conversation. I feel like you're like kind of
I
just, like,
know.
dancing around, but it needs to be like made explicit. I feel like between you two.
Yeah. This will to be continued. To be continued. All right. Okay, friends. Right, Jesse, Frederick, either of you have any final thoughts or questions or?
No, I'm just really glad I showed up today. So.
I am really glad you showed up today too. Frederick, anything?
No.
Are you glad
glad to be
you?
here as well.
Are you glad you came today?
Yeah, I am.
Good.
I'm glad you came. I feel like I'm excited for Frederick right now, because he seems like he's just very at that childlike, curious stage of interacting with your dreams. I think that's really cool.
Me too. All right. Okay. All right. Hope you got your dream journals. I hope this is useful. Thank you, everybody. On the count of three, let's go ahead and blow out our candles. All right. 1, 2, 3. All right. Remember, I'm always open to receiving messages. Send me private messages, ask me questions. Always more useful to everybody if you post them in the group. But if you want to send me private messages, please do. Know that I'm here for it. Want to be helpful. And I will see you all next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, friends.